What are some things only mentally ill people would understand? Serious. Having everyone constantly tell you how smart and overly competent and capable you are, but never ever feeling that way except for fleeting moments. Especially when you have a deeply ingrained knee-jerk reaction of contradicting any positive thing said about you, which pushes people away until you spend years learning how to not automatically verbalize those thoughts. This one hits me hard. I hate any compliments people give me because I'm always afraid I manipulated them into saying it. I get called nice and a good person a lot, and my first reaction is to warn the person I'm really not. Being genuinely afraid a lot of the time that you might be acting strangely and not know. Same for whether or not you are thinking clearly/rationally. Losing sleep because of that too. People actually forget their embarrassing moments. Like how I need to learn that one doesn't forget embarrassing moments, but almost always one has something else on their mind. Except when one randomly remembers those moments. Usually when trying to sleep or in the shower. Not knowing if your thoughts and emotions are your own. Is this the mental illness talking? Do I only feel this way because of the meds, for better or worse? Am I behaving rationally? Are these just normal thoughts? Which feelings/voices are the right ones to listen to? Where is the real me in the middle of all of this? That you can genuinely like and want to do something and be unable to do it. That whose birthday you remember and whose you miss isn't always a function of who you care about more, but whether your brain is working well enough to allow social interaction during the season when people in your life have birthdays. Being tired regardless of 8+ hours of sleep. I never feel awake. It's a constant state of exhaustion, regardless of how much sleep I've had. Are you on sleep medication? If I may ask, I was prescribed clonazepam 1 mg every night for years and I never understood why I was always so damn tired, even though my sleep was flawless. I've seen my family doctor a few months after my last appointment with my psychiatrist, and my family doctor then told me he also had a prescription of this drug and it did the same. So he dropped the dose and eventually I stopped it. I felt very bad for almost 2 weeks, but now I actually feel alive. I still have these, but I take it if my anxiety is going crazy. He changed my sleeping pills with something less addictive, Darxapin. It's an old antidepressant now used for its sedative and antihistamine side effects, and its half-life is short, so it doesn't remain in your system for too long, so you don't have daytime drowsiness. That even if 2 people have the same condition, it's still completely different. For example, if you know someone with depression and they discovered steps they could take to successfully cope and get by in life, those steps don't do jack shit for the next person with depression. Each case is completely different. Destroying your body with your vices to keep mental sanity versus staying physically healthy but succumbing to your insanity is a fight you'll never win. The balance is always a lose-lose. I can finally clear my head if I'm drunk or stoned and feel at peace. Except that destroys my family life and health. So I quit and try go to the gym. Except that now I'm constantly angry, on edge, and I just don't care about anything in general. Duck. This is one of the reasons I've been hesitant to really fight against my addictions. I don't want to be a rage monster. I don't want to get aggravated at the slow reaction times and absent-mindedness in the general public. I want so badly to just have that moment or two of peace. No matter how much you try, or how much someone cares about you, there's really no explaining how it feels. I know no one really can truly understand another person, but it is still so lonely when you can't explain to your wife why you just can't today, or why you need to do X right now. That when a person says I'm fine, just tired, they are most definitely not fine. Also, just how difficult it is to do the simplest things, like getting out of bed in the morning, bathing yourself, cleaning your room, eating, working, etc. I can relate to this so much. The need to do something, but unable to actually focus, or being focused on something that doesn't matter, like how many fingerprint marks are on a doorknob at work, when you're supposed to be working on this year's big project, but your brain won't let you. Especially if you own a business and you get paid only when you work. high functioning autistic person among other things wanting to go out, but as soon as you go out wanting to go home both ways thinking one or the other would make you happier when it doesn't. Also noises hurt. Certain texture hurt. Wearing jewelry hurts, they all cause me physical pain. Sensory processing issues, also being clinically depressed and having one bout of depression are different. Lastly, the sadness when a family member tells you they're scared to go into your room in the morning because they're afraid you'll be dead. Fellow HFA here. Try looking up Asperger's from the Inside on YouTube. It's a channel run by a very nice guy named Paul. He talks all about how autism impacts people and how to get a proactive handle on it, even if it's very small steps at a time. He's helped me a lot. I hope he makes a difference for you too. Truly believing that your suicide is the best option for everyone, and your loved ones are better off without you and burden of your illness. To anyone feeling like this right now, there is hope. Stay alive. Things can get better. I've been there myself 3 serious times and am glad I survived. Recovery is possible. Your loved ones in the world are not better off without you. It is very damaging when people, either purposefully or unintentionally, guilt trip or shame a person for self-harm and or suicidal tendencies, saying stuff like you are being so selfish, this is hurting me, or think about how this makes your family feel is entirely unhelpful and is just causing more stress. Even more so, it flips the victimization table. The one that needs help is the person dealing with suicidal tendencies, no one else. If you really think about it, people who unrightfully victimize themselves because someone else is self-harming and or suicidal are the selfish ones. That's your perception. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how many degrees you have, or how prestigious your job is, can be absolutely 100% incorrect, and that what you're absolutely sure is true may not be at all. Psychosis is terrifying, and it doesn't care who you are, or how rational you normally may be. That nothing in your life has to be wrong for you to be deeply depressed and troubled. You can have money, a job, a good relationship and still want to jump off a bridge because the pain and loneliness and self-hatred and whatever else is so intense. And knowing logically that there is nothing wrong with your life, knowing that it's you makes it worse, not better, because you know then you're broken. To be clear, no one is broken, but that's how mental illness makes me feel. You have this beautiful life. See, it's you. You're the problem. WTF is wrong WU? Your brain is broken. If having it all is supposed to make it go away, then you wouldn't see suicides from people like Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain, people who by all accounts have everything they could possibly have wanted. It's not a fix, not at all. At best, getting what you want fixes the specific pain of not having the thing you want, but does nothing for the overall suffering that mental illness causes. Suicide is not a selfish act, and I'd argue that anyone who says it is hasn't been truly suicidal. When I wanted to die, I was 98% convinced that in the long run, I was doing everyone a favor, and that it was more of a burden on my friends and family for me to be alive than dead. I genuinely thought I would be helping other people. Related, sometimes a suicidal person genuinely does have nothing to live for and no one that cares. Hearing shit like that used to fill me with a red hot rage when I was a suicidal teenager. Just how the duck do you know that? My parents were dicks. I had no friends. My teachers ignored me. Just who was supposed to care about me? Just what did I have to live for? Years later, I still say with 100% certainty that if I had offed myself then, my parents would have been too busy blaming each other to pay attention to the fact that their child was dead. Loneliness and isolation, and the anger you feel when you see people looking at you and you know they are judging you for something that's not your fault. That panic attacks aren't freaking out about some mundane, trivial thing that happened to you during the day. Panic attacks are debilitating, consuming, dreadful beliefs of certain death, impending doom, or some arrival at something terrible from which there is no return. Neurotypical people giving you simple solutions for your very complex problems. Just exercise more, drink more water, do yoga and meditate. It's so difficult to explain that no amount of exercise, water or yoga will solve the dysfunction in your brain. If you broke your leg or had cancer, no sane person would tell you to drink water or eat a salad to make it better. They'd insist you go to a doctor. But seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist is weirdly taboo because no matter what it's for, you're deemed as crazy or unhinged. That your illness can impact you so much it makes you not who you are at times. It's a version of you that even you don't recognize. Everything about you can change when you are ill. Your beliefs, your taste in music, your moral values. It literally affects your thought patterns. How do you explain that when you are ill, you are you, but you are not yourself then? Being so afraid and overwhelmed that you can't move, you can't. Add in, overwhelmed by the things you need to do, but can't. Because you're frozen. Add in, when that thing is just cleaning your messy apartment, why don't you just clean it? Because I'm frozen in place. Karen. God, I hate this one. It's not super common that I get it, especially anymore. But when it happens it's the ducking worst. I will just stand in front of my door, like Home Alone. Standing inches from my door, trying so goddamn hard to just 2 ducking steps forward, not even. Just move out of the door, and at least for me, if I do somehow manage to sort of break the barrier, I get immediately physically ill, which just adds an entire new layer of problems. Of all my problems, I'd say this ranks top 5. The ease of the door being within close enough to touch just compounds that guilt a million times over. That I want to get to work on time and do a good job, like I've done 1,000 times. But sometimes I need a week or 2 off, just because the chemicals in my brain have gone all wonky again, and I either A. can't even gather the energy to leave my room, B. have so much energy that I haven't slept more than 4 hours a night for the past month, and at all the past 3 days, and I'm now hallucinating both sounds and images, shaking and twitching uncontrollably, and should in no way be allowed to drive or do my duties at work. I work in construction. A mistake by me can be fatal to myself or those around me. I'm bipolar type 1. Having suicidal thoughts and enacting on suicidal thoughts are different. I think about suicide at least once a month. Sometimes more depending on how much raw stress I'm dealing with. But I do not once enact on it or self-harm. Just because you have suicidal or self-destructive thoughts does not automatically mean you will commit suicide/self-harm. It comes down to willpower in rejecting the urges. Of course, many people have a hard time in resisting. It's not easy. Here's a few. You can be surrounded by good friends and feel completely alone. Having to work to stay social at an event or gathering because you're well past your limit on how much you can take. Not responding for weeks because you messaged last and don't want to seem pushy. It's not that they won't take their medicine. They are not mentally healthy enough to be regular and consistent. Then if they don't even really work, the F% all regular people don't understand that a person has to already be above a certain threshold of mental health to A. seek help, B. be able to endure the grueling process of telling and retelling your story to a cavalcade of strangers who are mostly bent on trying to convince you your concerns aren't valid. C. take these pills the same order, the same time, day in day out, rinse and repeat. If your mental health is below that threshold, getting up is akin to pushing the earth backward on its axis. Forget all the rest of that stuff. Anxiety/panic attacks are different for everyone. Some are just heart palpitations and lasagna, some are emotional numbness and dissociation. ECT, I hate getting the numbness at work or when I'm driving. How your brain can make you believe that the most insane and terrible thing will happen if you don't check that a light is off. You know that such scenarios will never come to pass, but you also know that it will come true if you don't check. So you end up standing in a doorway, staring at a light that has been turned off for significant periods of time in the hopes that your brain will accept that it is off. Also, the crippling loneliness that occurs due to your illness causing you to withdraw from friends. The end result being that you lose all friends. The feeling of being numb and not being able to think while having millions of horrible thoughts in head all at once. I have GAD. Sometimes there's days where my brain feels incapable of functioning. I can't form a coherent thought no matter how I try. But all the voices saying what's wrong with me and everything's that worrying and bothers me echo through my head. Emotional suppression in a public place when you just rather cry at home and not work or school. If I'm in public and am extremely overwhelmed, I'll just cry for a minute then move on. Oh well. Hey, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.